Thank you all. Good morning. Appreciate you joining us. As you all know, we're here to celebrate the successes of the HOST program, and I'll get into that in a minute. But last week I was in meetings with city officials from all over the country and participated in 2 sessions on homelessness and veterans homelessness, and a little bit to my surprise, but Salt Lake City was held up as the national model for how we're addressing homelessness in the country. And it's something we can measure in terms of how we're making progress in addressing the homeless population in our communities. And it is based on my best assessment of what's going on across the country and what we're doing here. It is largely because of the level of commitment throughout our community, public and private, profit and nonprofit, and largely because we have been working in this community as we do in other arenas, but particularly as it relates to addressing homelessness in a truly collaborative way. That our community looks past all of the institutional barriers and all of the elements that can get in the way, and devotes resources in a coordinated way and in a truly committed and collaborative way. This HOST program, the Homeless Outreach Service Team program, is one important element of what we have been doing here. It was launched in 2011, and the goal was to connect the homeless individuals, or as Pamela Atkinson always likes to say, our homeless friends, with the social service providers and resources. In part, leading the way for us have been our Salt Lake City police officers. They use their interaction and their contacts with panhandlers and homeless individuals as opportunities to offer referrals to service providers, and have, along with those providers, sponsored focused weekly outreach efforts to make important connections between social service organizations and people in need of help. One of those important connections occurred last month at Pioneer Park, when a woman who saw outreach workers and vehicles and tables stopped by to get some information. Upon the providers learning the woman's name, service providers quickly realized the name was on the eligibility list for an apartment at Palmer Court. No one had previously been able to find the woman to share the good news. It's an example of how outreach efforts as part of this HOST program have been successful. As you know, funding for outreach workers and other service providers is essential to get help and services to people in need. Money directed to panhandlers often misses the mark. Our good intentions to help are often undermined. Local businesses have generously sponsored the red HOST meters placed in various locations for downtown visitors to utilize instead of the handouts to panhandlers. Money collected at those meters and from other donations and from the sponsorship of the meters is distributed to service providers through the Pamela J. Atkinson Foundation. And you'll see folks with these badges on today. Those are our sponsors for our meters across the city. Our police officers, businesses, and other community members are working together to address many of the difficult issues that we're experiencing in Salt Lake City. Through successful outreach and by making referrals when appropriate, we provide opportunities for a positive and long-lasting difference in the lives of those who are homeless and are facing chemical dependency, financial insecurity, and other challenges. Joining me today and others are others who see how HOST is impacting the community's homeless population. So we'll be hearing from Salt Lake City Police Chief Chris Burbank, from community advocate Pamela Atkinson, and she'll be announcing the donations we've received this past year as part of the HOST program. 4th Street Clinic CEO Christy Chambers, the Downtown Alliance Executive Director, Jason Mathis, and the Most Reverend John Charles Wester, who's Bishop of Salt Lake City for the Catholic Church. So first, let me turn time over to Chief Burbank.
Thank you very much. Time and time again, we make the mistake and associate homelessness with criminal activity. And in fact, that is a very costly mistake, because when we look to the police department as the solution to homelessness in our society, we are making a mistake. We are not the answer. In fact, I look forward to the day when a police officer who encounters an individual who is in a circumstance that they are unable to control, homelessness, dependency, in need, that we don't even receive a call. That the avenue for these individuals to get service, to get help, is in fact within easy reach. I'm very proud to be associated with those individuals who help us each and every day and actually make the police department look that much better. Because if we are booking individuals into jail, we clog our system, and they're not getting the help and services that they actually need in order to solve the underlying problem. That is why I'm so proud of the HOST program and its ability to interdict and actually stop the criminal justice program. We are not here as police officers to arrest people who are in this condition or suffering from homelessness. In fact, time and time again, we've demonstrated that if we can get people the services they need, whether that's for drug and alcohol dependence, whether that's housing, they stop engaging in criminal activity. They stop being victimized by those people who are really the problems. Because the mistake that we make is when we drive down the street and we put our blinders on and we say, it's not happening to me right now, and so I'm not going to be involved. There is a better avenue than giving to those individuals that are asking for money on the street. Ensure that 100% of your donation goes to the service providers and to those individuals who need the services that they have available by donating to the HOST program. Giving money to panhandlers on the street, oftentimes it goes in all sorts of different directions. But we can assure that every donation made to the HOST program goes back to the service providers. In fact, as you see the advertising around, that is obtained through a federal grant through the COPS office in order to do the advertising. The donations received into the program go back to help people in our community. That is what makes the difference. Each and every one of us working together can solve homelessness. There is no question in my mind that we have this within our reach if we work together and make sure that we are directing all our resources, all our funds to the right program. Let me, before I step down, again applaud those individuals who help the police department each and every day, because without their tireless service, without the ability, we would not have reached over 400 people in the last 2 years. And that's 400 people, and you look at the number of homeless people that we have in our communities, we look at the number of people panhandling, and you say 400 is a very small number. Well, the notion, the idea that we are going to change the world is very complicated. But for those 400 individuals, I would dare say that we changed their lives. And that is what's significant. So thank you for being here.
A few years ago, there wasn't a Pamela J. Atkinson Foundation, and if the chief leans on you for something, you listen very carefully and you obey.
Thank you.
He is one of the reasons there is a foundation. It's not easy setting up a foundation, and I'd like to acknowledge Zions Bank that helped terrifically, but also a chap by the name of Bruce Olson. He's a lawyer and he knows nonprofits inside and out, and he helped me set up the foundation. And if it wasn't for him and some of his partners, I would be in violation of the IRS rules and regulations. I've had this great fear of going to jail. The chief has committed, though, that he will do everything possible to keep me out, so I may have to hold him to it. But there are a lot of intricacies with the foundation, and I've just been appreciative of the fact that, you know, when you're working on something, people come into your lives. We call them angels. That's what I call Bruce Olson. That's what I call the people at Zions Bank who who help. They're angels who help you do things that you can't do, and it happens throughout our lives, and I'm just grateful for that. So the foundation was set up, and it has two streams of revenue come in. One is from the host program, and the other is from people who want to contribute money, and that is also shared around through applications, just like other foundations. We have an advisory board made up of the executive directors of a number of the agencies that actually serve homeless people. So we get money from the different sources. I would like to acknowledge City Creek. Bishop Burton gave some of us a private tour there just before it opened. And I said, oh, look, there's water. And somebody kindly said, well, that's why it's called City Creek, Pamela. And I said, yes, but when you have water, you have people putting money in. And the Bishop Burton was very kind and said, and I know exactly who wants that money. And so we're grateful that the money is collected, and Sergeant Michelle Ross and her colleagues collect that money, and that comes into the foundation in the host program. And then, of course, the meters, the red meters, money comes directly into this account, and then we have people who will just go into a bank and any of the branches of Zion's and deposit a check. We had the advisory board who made recommendations, and the recommendations for the disbursement of the funds are based on the number of referrals that Volunteers of America, Catholic Community Service, 4th Street Clinic, Valley Mental Health, The Road Home, Salt Lake Rescue Mission, and Crossroads Urban, the number of referrals made by the host team. And then we convert those referrals into percentages and into actual money. We did collect from those sources I mentioned $20,000. Scott Anderson and Zion's Bank did promise to match that $20, and they did that at the end of May. Thank you, Gloria and Brian and others from Zion Bank. Stephanie, thank you. And so the $20,000 that we had, my board had agreed to disperse amongst the agencies became $40,000. And as you can see here, the amounts, Volunteers of America got $16,400. They had received the most referrals and done the most work in terms of helping the people who were referred. And then you can see the other figures. The Road Home got $9,600. But some of the other agencies had fewer referrals, but are still part of what we call the team. And when you hear all of that's being said, I'm just going to quote again one of Governor Herbert's favorite acronyms and become one of mine, and that is TEAM, team, and it's together, everyone achieves more. And this is what we found, that with the Salt Lake City Police, the Salt Lake City, with Zion's Bank, with the help of other people who have stepped up to the plate, and all of the providers, we have been able to make a difference in many people's lives. We were also able to disperse $25,000 to certain agencies that come in separate from the host program. But we feel when people learn about the host program, they will want to give more. Please know there are no administrative costs by the foundation, and so every penny, literally pennies as well as quarters, are put into the meters. Every penny is deposited into the account, and every penny that comes in to the host program goes out. Administrative overhead, I think that's just me. So I'm cheap and I don't cost anything. So we're able, whatever anybody gives, we're able to give every single penny back. And I think people need to know that in this day and age, that when they give a dollar goes to the agencies who are providing vital services. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. It is really an honor to be here with so many illustrious leaders, and boy, those are tough acts to follow. One of the taglines that I first learned when I stepped into my position is homelessness is not helplessness. And over the last 2.5 years, that has taken on a lot of different meanings for me. But today what it means is that there is a group of devoted, smart individuals and agencies that have dedicated their lives, their careers, and their agencies' missions to helping those that are in need. Homeless truly is not helplessness here in Salt Lake City, and I can speak to that firsthand. There are a lot of helpers here in Salt Lake. As I look around at my colleagues, and there are many of you here, I think it's safe to say that each of us is motivated by the profound satisfaction of making a difference in people's lives and the community we all serve. It's important to all of us. Host is a shining example of the good work that is currently being done to help the homeless. It's agencies working together, law enforcement, shelter, housing, behavioral health, and of course, healthcare. We all have a common purpose of coordinating care for the complex needs of people who are often in very, very desperate situations. Those who work with this population know that we as human beings are not necessarily dealt a fair hand in life. And often it takes a little bit extra time and compassion shared for those caught short to provide a fair shot at happiness. At 4th Street, there is no better example of this than providing people good health care and a safe place to be, and a safe place where they feel that they are welcome. Interestingly, I've seen an uptick in panhandling around our clinic over the last 8 months, and I always remark to myself that those asking for money are within blocks, if not steps, of some of the best homeless services in this country. They provide basic needs of food, clothing, shelter, and care. I also see people daily giving money to those who continue to show up at the same time, at the same place, with the same sign, and I wish I could educate them more that by passing along their dollar bills from their windows, there's a much better investment of their money to contribute to Host, where individual dollars are used to leverage agencies' efforts in working together to end homelessness. So I thank you again for being here. This is tremendous. I also started in 2011 when Host was really in its infancy, and I've seen the good work that's happened along the way. And thank you, Pamela, for getting this started.
Good morning. My name is Jason Mathis, and I'm the Executive Director of Salt Lake City's Downtown Alliance. There are lots of reasons that someone can lose their housing: mental illness, addiction, medical emergency, aging out of foster care, escaping an abusive situation, bad choices, horrible parents, the list goes on. Whatever the reason, it's helpful to remind ourselves that people who live on our sidewalks, under overpasses, and in ravines and parks are children of a loving God who did not intend for them to live this way. And frankly, it's unconscionable that as a society, in a society as wealthy as ours, and in a community as blessed as ours, we allow human beings, sometimes our brothers and sisters, to live like this. We have to do more. There's no single solution or magic answer or silver bullet to homelessness. Every man, woman, and child who finds themselves in need of shelter has a unique story and set of circumstances. But there are strategies and systematic ways of helping homeless people that actually do make a difference. Things like drug treatment, long-term supportive housing, medical care for the mentally ill are all part of the answer. And it takes the efforts of providers, businesses, religious organizations, healthcare organizations, political leaders, and regular everyday people who want to help. And there are literally thousands of different ways to contribute. Things like donating food, clothes, or toiletries, volunteering with a service provider, and giving money directly to providers. These are all ways that we can make a difference. Increased police presence and intervention can also help homeless people from being victimized by a criminal element who prey on their vulnerability. We are so grateful for the thoughtful approach our police department has adopted, and we encourage them to continue to keep up their great efforts to do even more to protect some of the most helpless members of our community. The HOST program is an extraordinary example of what our police department does right. Panhandling and giving money to panhandlers is not the answer. Giving money to a panhandler lets people off the hook. Instead of looking at the root causes and committing as a community to finding long-term solutions, people are able to give $1 or $2 to a panhandler and feel like they have made a contribution to the solution, when in fact, in many cases, they have just enabled self-destructive behaviors. The HOST meters should remind us all that there is a better way to help people in need. The business community commends the Salt Lake City Police Department, Mayor Becker, Pamela Atkinson, Scott Anderson, and other community leaders who have helped to fund this initiative and who continue to work on solutions. And we express our profound gratitude to the service providers like Christy Chambers at the 4th Street Clinic, along with Volunteers of America, the Salvation Army, the Salt Lake Mission, the Road Home, Crossroads Urban Center, LDS Humanitarian Services, and Catholic Community Services. These people are truly doing God's work as they help the least of these among us. I know there are so many people working so hard right now to end homelessness in our community, and I want to remind you all that the business community is ready to step forward to help in a major way to combat homelessness through innovative projects like the Host Meters. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. I've always wanted a back cleanup. I'm so honored to be here today, and also I'm conscious of the fact that I'm representing all faith leaders in Salt Lake City who work tirelessly day in and day out dealing with the homeless in our city. This is a very difficult problem, has been said already, and it's an intractable problem, it sometimes seems, but in fact there are solutions, as we've heard today. One of the things that we faith leaders encounter is that what can we do as we encounter homeless day in and day out? We're so limited. And so that's why we're so grateful for the blessing of the Host program, which is one of the many ways in which we can reach out to the homeless, a very important and vital part of the solution to this problem. I'm stunned to realize that, for example, last year in 2012, throughout Utah, the whole state, that 45% of the homeless are families. And in that same year, over 13,000 of the homeless are children. Now that's the whole state, but it gives us a real sense of the depth and the breadth of this problem and how we need all people of goodwill on all these agencies to come together to assist and to find a solution to the problem. And that's why we, as people of faith, are so grateful for what's going on in Salt Lake City. The mayor's office, the police department, private persons, not-for-profits, the Host program, all coming together to really assist in this very difficult situation. I was touched that Pope John Paul II once said that a house is more than just a roof over your head. It's also a home where people can create their lives and live out their lives. And so really the term homelessness is at once accurate and deeply sad. It's more than just not having a house or a roof over your head. It also is not having that nurturing place where you can create a life and where you can live out your life. And so this is something that we simply cannot ignore, and I'm just so grateful to Host and so to many other programs that are doing so much to reach out to our brothers and sisters who need our help and who don't need a handout but a hand up. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bishop Wester, and thank you to all of those who participated in Host and into our goal, now within reach, to end homelessness in Salt Lake City. I look across this room, and so many of the members of this team are here today, and I thank all of you for the incredible contributions and in many instances, sacrifices you're making in your own lives to go above and beyond your daily work and to help us deal with such a troubling problem and challenge that we're finding ways to address effectively. This holiday season, we certainly are reminded to think of those who are in need and those who need help. Putting coins in the meters of the Host program is as effective a way as anything we can do to help address homelessness in our community. And as has been repeated over and over again here, and I think throughout comments we've been making throughout the years, we all, when we see someone in need and someone who's asking for help and for money, we all want to help that person. The most effective way we can help those people is by giving through the Host program and in other ways to the service providers, so that we know that those dollars that we're giving truly go to help the individuals and the families in need. So thank you all so much for participating. Thanks to the media for helping broadcast this effort we're pursuing, and I'm really appreciative of those who came together to start the Host program and are now seeing it play a big role in the success we're having with homelessness. Thank you.